You saw the thumbnail correctly. You can now EQ any of your Fifine XLR microphones, including the Fifine AM8, with the help of the Fifine Genie app and the help of the new Fifine SC8. That is correct. So there is, in fact, hope for the Fifine SC8. Got a lot of comments about it saying it's not really upgrade, it's not any this, it's not any of that. But with the Fifine Genie, I always stress that with third-party apps to support the hardware, you take your devices to the next level. And this is what Fifine is now doing with the Fifine Genie app. Here we are with the Fifine SC8 mixer and the Fifine AM8 and the Fifine Genie app. That's right. We have here the new, relatively new, it just came out recently in this past year, the Fifine Genie application. Wow, this is fantastic because, well, it's a lot of things. Not just for EQ, but it's also for creating a virtual mixer as well. Yes. So there are options to have this virtual mixer, which will work with microphones, right? You can input other mics here. For all intents and purposes, I'm not going to get into every single aspect of this software. I really want to jump into the EQ settings. Yes, the EQ options, because we all know Fifine mics are pretty good. But now they have EQ options. Yep, their own personally developed EQ app. You have your light controls. You can control the lights on your mixer to make it look nice and pretty. And of course, you have your hardware configuration. This is the stuff that's actually on the mixer itself with a couple of other options. So not only do you have an EQ, you also have noise cancellation. Everybody, yes, every last one of you. Everyone was wondering, how do we get the noise? So how do you suppress your noise? A lot of times I'm doing it through OBS or through another mixer like the mono mixers. Here you have, it's just one toggle on and that's it. And it's very harsh. It's probably a very high level of noise cancellation, noise suppression. So for the purposes of using this, you would have to be relatively close to your microphone like such. So that way you can not get your audio chopped off as you go back, because you will, the proximity is really bad now. So you got to be careful. So this is so you can have the mic leaning on your face like that. Let's get into the EQ. In the editor, you have to make sure to select the Fifine SC8. So that way you know what you're working with. It shows it there automatically once you select it at the beginning. And you will see that we're in an EQ editor. How exciting is this for Fifine and for everyone with Fifine microphones looking for an EQ option, some savior, right? For some mics that are not that great. Well, a few options here. First of all, you find that you won't be able to do anything, which is kind of weird. It keeps everything locked. So even if you selected like a different EQ, you can't do anything from the default, anything, nothing, until you unlock it here up on the top right. Then you can start doing stuff. Now you can make your switches. This is your input device, which will be your microphone. So you want to make sure you select your input, and then you'll see that you have your voice input because it's for microphones. If you select output, that is more for games, right? So if you have a game that you're playing and you want to adjust the EQ for the game, quite a lot of presets here for specific games. But you can see you have a lot of the major games that are being played out there for all my gamers and streamers: Overwatch, League of Legends, Apex Legends, Genshin Impact, and keep going down, Delta Force. Lots and lots of stuff. And of course, probably going to be adding the new games that come up. You have Helldivers too. Okay. And of course, what would this be without Fortnite, right? What? And if you make a switch, you'll see the graphical view of what the EQ will sound like. And as you can see, it's brought up some highs, a little bit of the lows drop down. And I'll just select a few random ones here, right? So you can see what it does. Genshin Impact. So it's going to give you a little bit of a bass impact. See what I did there? Stop. Boulder Gate 3. Now, I don't know how they come up with the idea for what the EQs should be for specific games. No idea how that's worked out. But anyway, Doom, Dark Ages. Ooh, the voice crispiness here is good. So now you can see the real full dynamic flexibility and sound quality you can get out of something like the AM8. Damn, I can hear my saliva slap. So you have tons and tons of presets here. You can probably just go and dig through these presets and probably find something that you like and call it a day, right? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, something like this sounds pretty decent in my ear hole. But the cool thing about these, once you're unlocked, you can like a preset, right? You have a preset you like, and maybe it has too much bass. You don't want that much bass. You can modify every last one of these presets to your taste. Choose input for your microphone. You have balanced, so this will be a more balanced set form of EQ. Broadcast, so wow, the bass is really rich here. Too much sibilance. Look at that high end there. Clarity, to get more clarity in your vocals. Super crispy here on those higher ends. You may get some sibilance because that high end is just super high. Deep voice here. You have a super bassy, muffled kind of deep voice. I don't like that. Very cloudy. EQ your own thing for deep voice. Here's a flat EQ if you wanted flat. Nasal if you wanted to get your nasals into the audio. And walkie-talkie to get that walkie-talkie effect if you wanted to have that in your sound, in your mix. That's right. So not so bad. Wonderful thing about this is that they give you 10 nodes to work with here in your EQ. That's right. That makes it great because there are a lot of options when you have 10 nodes versus like 5 or something like that. So if I had to EQ my own mic the way I like it, first of all, the AM8 sounds good, an XLR out of box connected to the mixer, fantastic audio. But there's some things like sibilance, as you can hear. So it's pretty high, and that's this high end over here. And from peaking, I would change that to high shelving. And I would drop off some of that sibilance just to get rid of that. Maybe I don't need as many of these. Particularly, I would change this maybe to like a 2. Right? 2 is good because then it comes down and controls that particular EQ band here or frequencies. And I can still control my low shelf here and kind of just drag it over. Sibilance is now good. You lose a little bit of clarity in your voice, so you kind of just want to pick it up a little bit and bring your voice back in just a touch, just a smidge, right? And be sure not to introduce too much sibilance, right? This is pretty good. And it's still pretty clear voice, right? You have all these other values here. The bell curve is pretty high. The only thing I noticed that you got to be careful when you try to select a node, because if you're going to select it off to the side, you create a new one. So just be sure you see the crosshairs, the cross arrows like that, and then you know you're actually hovering and selecting the actual node. For this, I would probably change that to a low shelving so I can reduce some of this low end here. So you can introduce a little bit of bass like such and cut off some of the low end in case there's like a low end rumble. And just like that, you can EQ any of your XLR Fifine microphones. Yes, if they are USB microphones, you're kind of out of luck because this doesn't detect it via USB. I've connected my Fifine AM8 via USB to my computer, and the software doesn't detect it as one of the devices in the EQ editor. Shouts out to Fifine for creating this software. Now your Fifine microphones now have a lot more usage and get more mileage and better quality, even out of a 16-bit microphone like the Fifine AM8, which I am quite loving here. I like this audio quality in your mouth, not mine. What? If you want to know more about the Fifine SC8 or the Fifine AM8, check the links to the descriptions or click one of these videos up here I have somewhere over my head to get more details about the Fifine SC8 specifically, and if it's worth upgrade from the Fifine SC3 if you have that or if you have no mixer. All right, I'm gonna go eat lunch because what else am I doing in life?